Hello friends, Sadashiva, Steph here. I'm currently in the beautiful Laurentians in the western part of Canada where I spent the weekend with my family, and I wanted to shoot a quick video because something happened the other day during a hike that we did, my wife and my 11-year-old, because it I think is something for everybody to apply who are interested, if you're interested in understanding how the mind works and how to deal with the mind. So it may be of interest to those of you which are interested in the law of attraction, and those who have read the chimp paradox as well, because that's all about mind work and how it works and how to work with the mind chatter more specifically. And when it comes to the chimp paradox, you remember maybe from the book that we have the logical mind and we have the emotional mind coming out of the limbic system of our brain. So the primate version, or let's say portion of our brain linked to the emotions, which are a little bit more difficult to control. And for those of you who are interested in the law of attraction, obviously you understand that you cannot attract something into your life if you're unable to visualize it. And if you have a chimp in the background of your mind telling you stories that you at some point in time start to believe in, then it's important to understand how the mind works to get rid of those stories that you don't like for yourself, to accept those stories, or to build those stories that you need to accomplish certain things in your life. So long story short, so we were actually like just 15-20 minutes into a hike, and my little one started to complain. This, I don't want to go here. I didn't sign up for this. This is a leisure weekend. I want to play on my Nintendo Switch. And you know the stories, how it goes with kids. And I asked myself, how can I help him understand an easy technique where you get rather fast the grip on your monkey mind, like this mind chatter going on. Because everything he was telling himself, the story he was telling himself was the story of, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to play on my Nintendo Switch, stay in the chalet, and not going on this stupid hike with you guys. So anyway, and it appeared to me that I would like to, I'd like to explain to him a technique that I use now during meditative practice quite often, more and more often, which is the practice of the witness. And basically, what I told him is that, hey, Alex, imagine what's going on in your mind right now is mind chatter. That's the monkey mind telling you stories that you don't like to do what you're doing right now. Okay. And we all have that. I told him it's nothing specific to you. There's nothing wrong with what's going on in your head. But just realize that there is this monkey mind which you don't have an easy control over, right? And those mind chatter the mind chatter is going on, one thought after the other, and you're angry with us, etc., etc. Now, imagine that your mind and your thoughts is not just one monolithic thing, but they're different layers. Okay, and one layer is this emotional limbic stem system mind that is chattering its way through, and you just blabbing out what you hear from that mind. But what about superimposing a calm portion of that mind on top? Let's call it the witness or the observer, and let this observer look at this chattering mind, monkey mind, and just observe it and realize actually that you are not that chattering mind. Because if you have the possibility to put yourself on top of it, or some portion of your mind, let's call it the higher mind versus the lower mind, the lower chattering mind, if you can do this, Alex, then you cannot be that chattering mind, because if you are the chattering mind, you would not be able to observe yourself, right? So let's call this the witness, and let the witness just look at it with a smile, and at some point just talk to this chattering mind and tell him, hey, You're not in control. I am in control. And I actually want to do that hike. I like it here. We're out in the nature with your mom and dad. And, one step after the other, you may enjoy the practice of doing this hike, of walking. And I also explained to him, and that's now karmic philosophy, Hindu philosophy. You don't need to believe into that. That's my thing. But I explained to him, if you are living what you're living right now, then there is a reason for you to live this right now. It's not happening by happen chance. There is a reason for everything that happens in our lives. And I told him, maybe what I'm telling you right now in terms of the chattering mind and this witness mind, this observer mind, is something you're supposed to learn, because otherwise I wouldn't talk about it, right? And maybe somehow in a former life, or before coming back to this life, reincarnating, he is very familiar with the reincarnation theory, maybe you yourself told yourself that you wanted to learn this. And you were choosing a family with a dad that was able to explain it to you so that you can actually learn from this. And if that's the case, Alex, I told him, then somehow you have the responsibility to learn that and to apply it in your life. And guess what? Once you learn this, I think very strongly that you can apply this throughout your life at various situations. Whenever this chatter mind is coming on and you don't really come along with it, or you don't really know how to manage it, this is the way to do it. To have the witness, the observer. Look at it with a smile and then talk to him. And suddenly, Alex went completely quiet for a few minutes, just walking, nothing, no word, nothing. And I literally felt how this thought was entering his mind, his thought process, and he was processing that information. And I kid you not, the rest of the hike, he changed like this. He was calm, he was smiling, he was funny, he was positive, and he did his hike up to the end, and he was happy afterwards and told me about it, that something made him change the way he was looking at all this. So I was flabbergasted how quickly he absorbed it. And, well, he's an 11-year-old. Kids very often do things quickly once they understand it and really accept it. They are faster than we adults are. But still, I was quite amazed by how he applied that. So I wanted to share that story because it was such an impact it made on him. And I thought to myself afterwards, wait a minute, my students because I'm teaching, as you may know, on a website, My Lifestyle Business, I teach people how to build an online business. And on another website, I train how to become a digital marketer. You need, for achieving these types of life objectives, or in this case, business objectives, you need to be in control of your mind, because building an online business is building habits that are positive in the sense of creating what you want to create, building the future that you'd like to have for yourself, becoming that different person and grow, you see. And without controlling your mind, that's pretty difficult, or quite impossible, I would say. So I wanted to give that to you, that example of an 11-year-old, of how to be able to work with your mind, which is very important. So again, the practice is very simple. The witness, or the observer, the way you can visualize that really is like, imagine yourself talking to somebody or being faced with a situation, but not being in your body physically looking through your eyes, but somebody looking through your eyes, from behind your eyes. Somebody being in the background and being observing the situation, observing what's going on, observing the mind chatter going on in your head. If there are negative mind patterns, thought patterns, observe them first. That's the first step, is to understand actually that you can have several layers of looking at things, One layer, which is very difficult to control, is this mind chatter, the monkey mind, as it is explained in the chimp paradox. And then there's this other level, a much higher evolutionary speaking mind. We can also call it intelligence, and it's a more evolved portion of us, and there are much more layers, but I don't want to go into those details today. Just when you realize that your mind is telling you a story, remember that story of Alex. Just like get out of it, out of your own mind, adopt this higher mind and observe it. Just behind and look at it from the outside. And suddenly you realize that you actually have a control over this mind chatter. And that's the first step. And then there are practices, obviously, techniques that I can explain, teach later on, what to do with this, because there's much, much more that can be done once you understand how your mind works. But the first step is really to understand that actually you have this mind chatter going on, and that it's not necessarily the story that you like to hear for yourself, because stories tend to materialize themselves in your life. So you want to be in control of those stories, and that's one way of doing it. So I wish you a nice day. Subscribe to the channel here on YouTube or on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever you watch this. And yeah, I talk to you soon. Bye-bye.